Hello, hello. Sandy from the Doux Designs. Getting ready to color up some Frosty. Last night on the live that we had, or not last night, sorry, Tuesday night on the live, someone mentioned that they loved Frosty the Snowman. Hi, Judy. So I decided tonight we would color up Frosty. So on Tuesday night we did these aliens, but I'm going to use one of the sentiments from that set tonight. Hi, Justine. And then I'm going to use this Frosty and the Thumpity Thump and maybe the snowflakes from this particular set. And then I'm going to add a calendar for the current year so I can circle Christmas. So we're going to do all of that together. Hi, Becky. Hi, Mom. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to join me. So since we have a bit of stamping to do and a bit of coloring, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I have set up Frosty and the calendar on my Misty. And I have some hammer mill paper here we're going to use. And when you're stamping the calendar, if you stamp the numbers, the days of the week and the month first, then you can put that piece over top of it to show that it's hanging on the wall. So this extra piece right here. So we're going to stamp that separately. So I took the numbers from here, and then I took the days of the week starting with Sunday from here. And then I took December from here, and I placed them in a row right here, and then we'll stamp over top of it. So, and then we have Frosty with his hand out saying, this is the month we're on. It's not snowing here. It doesn't really snow in Texas, really. I mean, we get ice storms, but not really snow. So, but it is December time, and there are a lot of you guys getting snow. So we're going to do Frosty. And I watched Frosty the Snowman tonight. So I would be ready for what color and how I wanted to color Frosty for tonight. So I did a little pre-work, and that was watching the show. Hi, Beth. So here is our Frosty. So what I did was I set up this Misty that I have with this, and then instead of taking this stuff off, I went ahead and set up my second Misty with the part that's going to go over it and the words. So now I'm going to pull out the second one. It's a little bit easier to do it this way. So now I'm going to open this one. When you have a sticky mat in there and you put your stamps in there, I recommend putting a little piece of paper in there. Otherwise, they stick to each other, and it can be not fun trying to separate them. So just a little hint there. I would keep a piece of paper in there normally. So I placed these on here so that when we stamp, they'll stamp right over top of what we want. Now, this one right here, I'm not really sure I want it there now that I'm looking at it. I may want to stamp this on a different piece of paper and cut Holly and Jolly separately so I can say Holly Jolly. Or we may use one of the sentiments from these printed ones I have. And I got these at a garage sale, so I'm not really sure where they came from. But it says, from your Secret Santa, or don't open till December 25th, holiday greetings. So there's a lot of different statements that we could use from there. So for right now, I'm just going to stamp these two portions over top of what we've already done. Now, if we wanted to, we could change the words, which I think I'm going to do. So we're going to stamp this part in the Memento Black, and then we'll come back and stamp the other part in this rhubarb stock. It's kind of like a cranberry red. Hi, Jana. Oh, it looks like my husband put the light right up against my desk. So when my desk shakes, so does the light. So there you go. That's how you set that up. So I would set all of the information that goes inside and then stamp over top of it. I think that makes it a little bit easier. Now, normally I would just leave this on here, but because we're stamping this one, this will leave some marks on there. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one off because I don't want to mess up what I already did. And I don't really want to stamp in black all over the card, so we're going to use this one. Give us a little bit different look. So for Thumpity Thump, I'm going to use this red. And then if we put the snowflakes, we'll also use this red. That way it'll give us a touch of that red on the card. And I want it to be a bit darker, so I'm going to stamp it again. Hi, Tammy. Nice of you to join us. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I know Thursday nights sometimes can be challenging for people to join. But I thought if I showed you how to use this calendar is actually from Waffle Flower. And I love it because I'm going to make the monthly calendars to give to people, and I've struggled with finding a calendar that I can do that with. Usually you have to buy them on Etsy or something like that, and but if you have this stamp set, you can, it doesn't matter which day of the week that the day starts on, they gave you all of them. And then if you want it to start, if you want your calendar to go Sunday to Saturday or Monday to Sunday. So it gave you a lot of options. I really like this stamp set, and I'm going to be playing with it here this week to do some of those calendars for next year so that I can give them as gifts. I have been working on lots and lots of cool gifts this year. Handmade gifts. That's kind of been on my agenda. So, hi, Joy. Oops. So, this one, there's our Frosty, and it says Thumpity Thump. And you'll have to pardon me because I have like a really bad cold. And I will do my best not to blow my nose, but my nose is running really bad. So, excuse me if I take a brief moment. I'm just making sure I don't drip on my paper, which I know sounds gross and disgusting, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, so for the card base, I chose blue and green, but I don't really know how that's going to match out till we finish coloring him up. So I'm going to put that aside, and we can always change our mind. But for now, that's the color I was thinking about using. So let's get busy. Let's get busy coloring up our little Frosty. Hi, Darlene. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys will really be able to see what we're doing. And I'm going to grab my Copic holder just so you can see the numbers while I'm coloring. So I have that handy. Okay, so for Frosty, because he's made of snow, of course, I've chosen to use C3100 and BG000. Now, you can do this in just the C's, or you can do it in the W's, or you can do it in blues. You can do it however you want, but this is the way that I like to do it. So I'm just going to show you my way, and you vary what works best for you. I'm going to start with my BG000, and I'm just going to add the highlight where the darkest areas are going to be. So this is kind of like doing a base coat like we do when we do skin, wherever the shadow areas are going to be. I'm just adding a little bit of this blue color, just because we want to just make sure that we give him enough color that he's not just white. So around bottom of his feet. And this is where we're going to put the darkest color. And when we go over it with the darkest color, you're not going to be able to see it so well, but we'll come back in with this color one more time. This is just setting our groundwork. If somebody could say hi to make sure I can see comments, because I haven't seen any comments come, that would be really great. Oh, thanks, Mom. She says, hi, Joy. There we go. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you, darling. I'm really glad you got to pop in. I hope all the repairs and stuff are going well for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to our C3. Frosty is so cute. Where did I get him? He is the Sassy Club. I got him from the Sassy Club, and I'll put the link in this in the comments on this video after the video. But this is the full set. So you get Karen, who takes him to the North Pole, and then the little chipmunk, and the bunny whose hat became his magic hat, and then there's another Frosty. He looks like he's jogging through town, and this one. So you get all of that in this set. So C3, I'm going to start along the top where his hat is, just to give him that shadow look there. And I will say that when I do like a snowman or something, he's going to look really crazy to start out with, but it's more about the blending with this one than it is everything else. Hi, Heather. So this is just putting down the base work, and I like to leave white along the edge to start off with, just because I feel like that gives it a little bit more round look. So that is what we're doing. So it's gonna look crazy, but you gotta stick around and see how it turns out. So just putting in my darkest shadow color wherever I feel like it. It doesn't have to be perfect because he's not going to be colored in completely solid anyway. And he's going to have some white gel pen on there too. I'm going to add just a little bit underneath his pipe just because it would cast a shadow on there. And his little shoulders would too. So we'll put just a little bit of extra right here that we didn't use the blue for. And he probably would have some under his chin. So we should probably do a little bit along there, but not quite as thick as all the rest. So we'll just make that little thin look, and we'll elaborate on that in a little bit. You're gifting me the gift of creativity. I'm so grateful for you. Oh, thanks. I know, Beth, were you the one that said you liked Frosty last night? I couldn't remember exactly who said that, but I always struggled determining where the shadows would be. Well, you want to think about what's layered on top of each other. Kind of helps a little bit. So like his hand is on top of the broom. So you're going to have shadow down here, but then the broom is also going to shadow just a little bit this side of him. And then his head is really big, so he's going to have some shadow underneath here. The hat will have a brim that'll hang over, so we need some shadow there. Of course, he'll probably have a lot of shadow down here just because his belly's so big, but I didn't actually put that there. But the best way for me to think about it is what would be in the forefront and what would be further back, and that's where I decide. But honestly, when you're coloring something that's animated like this, that's not real life, it kind of doesn't really matter. You sort of get to do whatever you want. Now we're kind of going over the colors, sort of softening up those harsh tones that I put in there. And then we're going to extend down from there just to kind of soften that up a bit. So we don't want him to look gray, but he will have some gray in the shadow areas. And of course his pipe is over his face, so he's going to have a bit there. And honestly, no one's going to judge you on where your shadow is. You're the Pez dispenser. Well, maybe the person who loved Frosty will pop in tonight. I'm sorry I couldn't remember who that was, but I wanted to make sure that I at least got him colored up since they really like it. So whenever I go around these areas and try to soften the edges, I don't want to leave these square looks right here. So you can see how I rounded it right here, and this is more square. I always try to round it out a little bit when I'm doing like snowmen or people or something like that, because nothing is really square like that. It's all rounded, and I want to make sure I give it that impression. So I'm just softening this line that I put over here. And with these, like, I don't want it to go straight over here and straight up. So we're going to kind of soften this with a bit more of a curve. The curve will make it feel a little more realistic. Hi, Linda. So we're going to go down here, across the bottom. Again, I'm leaving a little bit on the edge to kind of show the roundedness, and you'll see what I mean, I think, when we're done. But for now, just bear with me. He's not a difficult color. It won't take a really long time. So if you have time, you can stick around tonight. This won't be an extremely long live, I don't think, but at least you'll get through Frosty if you can't stay. Last night's video hasn't been uploaded to YouTube yet because I have to splice the videos together because we had that mishap last night. And I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I've been trying to make all these boxes, card boxes for cards that I'm gifting away this year for Christmas. So I had to make, I want to say 11 or 12 of them. And each box has 8 cards in it, and that didn't even put a dent in the amount of cards I have here at my house. This is the second color, so I'm going to start doing a little bit more of this shadow that I talked about down here just a few minutes ago. That he'll have some shadow from his belly. I just didn't want it to all be the darkest color. So since I only chose 3 colors, C3, C1, and C00, with the 4th one being the BG000, after we do the second color, we're going to come in with this BG000 to add that bluish color back in here. It's kind of to show a little bit of the fact that there's water in him, you know, because he's a snowman, so he's made of water, snow, and all that good stuff. So I'm adding some of this blue tint to him. It looks like a lot right now, but we do it after the second color and not the 3rd color, so we can cover it up with the last color just a little bit, and that will take away that bright blue tint and just leave it subtle in the background. So that's the reason why I do them in the order that I do them. And it doesn't have to be perfect or well blended. It just needs that color in there. This time of year for us crafters is always busy. Yes, it is always busy. You watched that video today. Did an awesome job explaining it. You love the box for cards. Yes, I made a whole bunch of them. And I started decorating them up. I have to take the names off of them, but I have one right here on my desk. So I just used like a kit from, you know, one of those companies that has paper and stickers. And then when you open it up, it says freezing season. And then inside is 8 cards. So all specified to what that person might use during the year. So, you know, birthday and whatever. And then there's 8 cards in there. They're all in plastic. They all have envelopes. That way they can use them throughout the year. And I think that they'll be very happy about that. I think you probably saw the name of that one, but yeah, I do a bunch of those and give them away. I mean, it helps that people to have a card on hand if they're going to be if they're going to need one and they don't have time to go to the store. They can just grab the one that they have and run with it. Now, I have some people that I gave them to that kept running out, so they're getting 2 or 3 boxes, so with different holidays and such. So it's fun. I like it. It was a free. Where's the card box from? I've seen the other live. I did it on the live that I did. Was it last week? I think it was last week. No, it was on Sunday. Last Sunday, I did a live. It's on YouTube. I did 3 projects that you could use. The box was the last one. The first 2 projects were using dies. The card box, I taught you how to make that from scratch. So you do not need to buy a die or anything. I gave you all the measurements and how to make the box, because there isn't one like that, and so I designed one that would work for me, and I wanted to share it with you guys since I was going to be doing it a bunch this year. You'll go look? Okay, yay. And feel free to share in the group if anyone makes one, because I'd love to see it. Today I also posted a stack of the boxes while I was in progress of making them so you guys could see. So now I'm just using this C00 to blend all of this together. For some reason my C00 feels like it's low on juice, which would be uncommon for me. So sometimes the real light colors feel like that, but that they're not actually low on ink. It's just that you can't see them as well as you can see all the other ones. So right now I'm just doing that extra blending to get that blended out. And then we're going to use the colorless blender to lighten it up just a little bit so that we don't have a real dark Frosty. You love getting handmade cards and you love sending them out. Me too. I do. I've gotten 2 so far this year. I haven't mailed mine out yet, so I got a Grinch one early from a friend. I send about 50 cards. So we're going to give him a little bit of time for that body part to dry before we go in with the colorless blender. And I'm just going to start blending his face. I don't want to go over his nose, but I was thinking about doing his nose orange, like a carrot nose. But you know, Frosty, he actually had a red nose in the movie. I don't know why, but he did. He's really cute. Sorry, I had to take a break. I'm telling you, this cold is kicking my butt, or whatever it is. It is, oh, I've been battling it for several days now. 3 or 4. It's miserable. Okay. So next I'm going to work on the broom, and I'm going to make the broom handle a little bit darker than I normally would with the broom handle, just because I want it to stand out. So I chose E29, E25, and E23. And I want to allow him time to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this other part. So I'm going to do like just some wisps in between, so it's going to look like wood when I get done. And then I'm also putting a darker area up here underneath where the shadow would be. And then, of course, this is kind of sitting on the ground, and we'll ground him when we get there. But but I'm just adding a few little lines just to make it look a little bit more like wood. That's my plan. I know, right, Cheryl? Y'all, I have been taking that, have you ever tried that, that medicine they have on the market that's for, to boost your immune system? Because I have a terrible immune system. Emergent C or whatever it's called. I have been taking that every single day. And while it has kept it not getting too bad, I can tell the difference. So if you've never used it, it's pretty good. It's working pretty good for me. And then the most amazing, oh yes, oh my god, the coloring. Yeah, we're not even done yet. We just started. By the way, if you didn't know, Puffs has Kleenexes with Vicks in them. I'm telling you, that stuff, it's been a lifesaver. Okay, E25 is going to be next. Once we finish this part of the broom, we're going to soften Frosty's snow color. And when we add the white gel pen, it'll really make it shine. And we really want it to shine. I'm not even done and it looks amazing. Thank you, Sandra. I hope you like the aliens I did the other night. I sent you a picture. I was so excited with how those Pez aliens came out. Man, I'm telling you, they were fun. I actually have it right here. I can show you if anyone wants to see. But this is what we did on Tuesday. Ta-da! Pez dispensers with Pez candy. Merry Christmas, you human. It was so fun. We had a really good time. We had a really good time putting that one together. Everybody was here and visiting. You've not been able to check your messages? Oh, yes. I thought you might be busy. In fact, today I sent you a message and said, I hope you're busy packaging Black Friday sales. So I'm touching an extremely light touch on here because I don't want to wash out the lines that we have that make it look like wood. So with the E23, we're just doing an extremely light touch so that we don't wash any of that out. Pez was your favorite? Yeah, Beth was loving your Pez. I can't find my set that has these little, I started cleaning my craft room to try to find it. I can't find my set that has these little things and the Smarties, but I had already pulled the Pez out, so luckily I had that handy. But I have no idea where my other set is, although I do have stacks of stuff behind my desk I haven't been through, so I'm sure it's here. I just don't know where. Okay. So before we move on to this and the corncob pipe, we're going to go in with our colorless blender and soften up Frosty a little bit more because we have to soften him before we work on the other stuff so we don't pull any other colors in there. So this is my colorless blender and I am just going to go over the whole thing with the colorless blender just to kind of soften and blend up those colors a little bit more. I feel like it makes a pretty big difference in lightening the color and making it look just perfect the way that I want it to look. So I feel like some of the big points of doing a snowman like this is making sure that you give him that shape that he needs. You love that I used the Pez? I know it was all, the Pez is all for Halloween, the characters and stuff, but I was like, oh, we could use it for so much more. Easter. I mean, I love Pez. There we go. So now give that a chance to dry and it'll lighten just a little bit. I always like to go over my, when I want it to be gray or snowy, I always like to go over it with the colorless blender. And now I'm going to start with the top of the broom. So I've pulled YR27, YR24, and YR23. This might be a little bit too orange for the straw, so if I need, I might pull in E23. I have that on hold just in case. But we're going to start with the YR27 and see how that goes. So I'm going to turn it upside down. And I'm going to start just from the center and get these strands of straw or whatever. I don't broom anything, so I don't even know what this is called. What, bristles or something? I don't sweep either. I know it sounds crazy, but my husband does the housework and the cooking. I just do laundry. He does the grocery shopping too, so don't ask me to find something in a grocery store because I have no clue where to look. So I'm going to put a solid line above and below this part that's holding it together. So I feel like there would be quite a bit of shadow in that area. And I'm going to do a few bristles down from the top. We'll do more with the second color, but I wanted to kind of get that built in so we could be ready for it when we get to our next color. And I don't broom. Yep, I know. Sweep, I guess is the word, but it wasn't coming to me because I don't ever do it. In fact, the other day I was going to sweep something that I had dropped on the floor and I couldn't even find the broom, so I don't even know where he stores it. I am spoiled. He spoils me. I mean, my job was to take care of the kids and all the doctor's appointments and all the school activities and, you know, and doing the budgeting and the money and all that junk. So he was like, if you do all that, I'll do the other stuff. I was like, deal. I'd much rather do this stuff than all of that. Okay, so kind of going around the outside because I only have 3 colors for this combination. I don't think we're going to need the E23. And I'm doing the bristles from the top and from the bottom. He is a good hubby. I will tell y'all a secret though. When my kids were young, my daughter said, well, what do? You don't do anything. Dad does everything. So I said, I do my financials. I do the financials and I take care of you guys. And she was like, yeah, like that's hard. It is 50-50. It does take 2. It definitely does. And once she grew up, she said, oh, I get it now. And I was like, I bet you do. Oh, she was spicy. Yes, she was. She was a little spitfire and still is, but a lot nicer to me. She gets it now. She has a little one of her own. She's the one that has Cooper. But she was a tough when she was a teenager. She was a little spitfire for sure. But I wouldn't trade her for the world. So there's our YR23 added in to make that color. So for the corncob pipe, I want to kind of make it sort of that same color, but instead of using YR23, I'm going to use the E23, so it's a little more brown, a little less yellow, and doesn't match the broom exactly the same. You think we all go through that phase? We do. It's those teenage years. The perfect broom color. Thank you. I've worked a long time to come up with that broom color. Because most of the time you wouldn't think it would be YR27, 24, and 23. I mean, that's just not what we think of when we think of broom. But in starting out with this corncob pipe, I want to give it some texture. So I'm going to put these lines. I know this is brave with a dark color, but we're going to do it anyway. I'm not going to be shy. We're just going to put some of that like hatch, and if you put that in there before you start, it'll soften it all up, and then it will look more subtle
when you get to the next part.
So we're going to try YR24 next.
So I'm going to soften this up. I'm going to do kind of around the outside. Look, Dale missed all the bragging I was doing on him.
What are you bragging about?
I said, I don't broom often. Because you do it. And they thought it was funny that I said, I don't broom, not I don't sweep.
So I was like, yeah, he does all that. So next is the E23, and I want to get that brown in there. And I'm good with this part being darker, but I don't want to darken the whole thing. So I'm just going to touch in these white areas with this E23. And then I'm going to go over the bottom because I want that to be darker. But I just want you to be able to see a little bit of style in that corncob pipe, but not a whole lot. So that's why we did the design the way that we did. Howdy, Deanne. You're heavy-handed. I'm heavy-handed too. You just have to practice to get that light touch. I've always been, that's why all my coloring is usually dark and deep, because I don't do anything light. I can't help myself. Okay. I wasn't going to put any green in this, but I think I might make this band right here green, and then we can make the flower red. So we need to use our YR27 one more time. We need to put it in the center of this flower. So I'm going to do it right along here. And then we're going to come in with 24, and then we're going to go to 23. We're going to use the YR, not the E23. There we go. I know why I follow you, because you're so in love with your family. Husbands are the best. Oh, thanks. I am very much. Where can you get this design? This is the Sassy Club. Da-da-da-da. I'll put the affiliate link in the comments after the live, but feel free to go out there if you want to. It's thesassyclub.com. And she's actually here, or was.
It's Sandra is her name, just like me. She is the owner,
and I love her stuff, and I love to work with her. So next we're going to do the flower before we do the black. So I chose R39, 37, and 35 because normally I use 46 in my color combination of red or pink, and I decided to show you a different one tonight. So this is going to be the E39, 37, 35 combination.
So I'm going to go around that little centerpiece that we just colored in the yellow, and then I'm going to just do one little flick into each petal because we want to give it a little bit of texture. And then you don't have to do this part, but if you're really good and easy touch, I'm going to come down and extend each one of these petals just a little bit more. It'll just give it a little bit more personality. And then I'm going to go along the areas that are touching the brim of the hat,
just because I want to give that a little bit of shadowy. You can leave me a note if you do that. You came from Sandy's live. Oh, if you just go to thesassyclub.com, you can put in the comments you came from my live, so she'll know. R37, it also helps her know that the lives are being watched and seen, so it's helpful to both of us. Going around the outside with this one.
And then I'm going to extend a little bit more on these ones that I went up into each one. And again, this is
challenging for the heavy-handed people, but don't worry, you can do it. Just practice. And then R35 is where I'm going to fill in the rest of this flower. And these colors are offset enough that you can notice the difference, and it makes that flower super pretty. I'll show you up close, because you'll really be able to see it when I show it up close. See how you can see the texture in that flower? I mean, I color a lot. I even have, and I make cards like crazy, but I even have a bucket of pre-colored stuff right here. I just always have stuff to make cards out of. Now, in the movie, he had a red nose, so we are going to give him a red nose with these same reds that we used on, I know that's more like Rudolph, but in the movie, he had a red nose. I didn't realize that until I watched it this time. I thought it should be orange, but it wasn't. So we're going to stick with the red. And then I'm going to do a very thin line right across the top. And then R35 will finish it off, and it'll be really light. So in the little bit of back and forth, it'll give him that really cute little nose. And it'll make it kind of shiny, which I really like, aka you. I understand. I've done a lot of practice. Okay, before we move on to the black for his hat, I need to grab a green because I did not grab a green color. So let's do YG 67, 17, and YG 03. That'll give us a good enough green color. This is one of my favorite combinations. I sometimes go lighter and darker to make it a bigger variation, but for a quick run to YG 67, because it's dark enough, it's a real good Christmassy green. We're gonna go keep down here where you can just see through the separation in his hat. This is actually the hat from the guy who does magic. It's his magic hat. I love coloring with markers too. I can't tell you how much. YG 17. I don't mind the Olos. I like those too. But I'm a Copic girl. I don't even know how to explain that any other way other than I just haven't been presented with one I like better than the Copics. But it's a good alternative if you need an alternative, although I would still recommend keeping with skin tones in the Copics because I just don't think the Olos are there yet. They are, you can get skin tone, but it's harder. It's a lot harder. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Deanne. I love to color with them, so I guess maybe that just shows. You love your Arteza learning with Olo. What does that mean exactly? Have you taken a class at Arteza? Or is that a person? More info, please. Oh, good night. Thanks for being here. Okay, so for the hat, we're going to go with C10, C8, C7, C6. And once I do the hat, I think the Frosty will look lighter. C10. Also, when we build a background, he'll also look lighter. Sometimes they look pretty dark when you first do them. But if you don't do them that dark, you won't be able to see it once you start getting all the color into the picture. So I'm going to go along where this flower is with a very thin line. And
and this side. And then we're going to do some from each side because this hat will have a rounded shape. A little bit around the flower.
There we go. Arteza is a brand like Copic, but a lot cheaper. Oh, okay, it is a brand. You're working your way up to Copics. I understand completely. Copics are definitely an investment, they're not, you have to take care of them. I mean, I even have mine insured because they're very expensive. C8, and they're part of my life, so C8 is where I'm going to build the wall between Frosty and his hat. And I like to travel with them when I can. So if I'm going to be traveling with them, I got to have them taken care of. So I'm just extending out from where I put that darkest color, and I want to go around all of the things that are protruding on the hat to show a bit of shadow there. Let's go from this side as well. Kind of meet in the middle with the lighter colors. Yes, I do, Cheryl. I do. Yep. C7. If something happens, I'll want them replaced without having to spend all the money again. So yeah, I do. I mean, we do that with our jewelry because it's so important. These feel important like that to me. When you travel, you just need paper and a pencil. I take my iPad, but I do like to color when I travel. It's relaxing to me. It's my go-to when I feel sad or have a bad day, or I'm just feeling super happy, or someone wants to learn something. I like to always have them available so I can always be helpful. And if I'm just sitting around, I don't like going somewhere and then I end up like sitting around and I don't have my markers, and the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, I wish I had my markers. I could color. You love to doodle. You never thought about that? That's a great idea. You're going to look into that? Yeah, it's important to me. Okay, so I just went outside the lines. You probably can't see it, but it's a teeny tiny little spot right here, and I'm just going to push that back in real quick. There we go. Okay, now for this December chart right here, I'm going to go ahead and use these C's to do the part that's holding. This is like, I want it to look like the part that's actually holding everything together, like it's on a, I don't know, a pole or whatever you call it. Anyway, we're going to put this color on here. We're going to start incorporating some colors from here into this so that it's cohesive. I used to doodle a lot when I was younger, but now if I'm going to be doodling, I want to be drawing something specific, and that takes more mental power and time than just doodling. So I don't do a lot of doodling so much, especially not on my iPad. I do it on my iPad. The cost of them and the refills, yeah, for sure. Yes. And especially when you have all the refills on all the markers, it's a lot.
Alright, so we have one more color after this. So we want to make sure we get enough of this in there.
Oh, and in case I didn't mention, my mom's taking me to see the Elvis impersonators to sing Elvis Christmas music on Sunday, so I'm excited. I can't wait to go. I grew up listening to Elvis Christmas music, so it's going to be really fun. There we go. Just blending these two together. I'm just using a back and forth. He is a lot lighter now, yeah. And he looks really good. I like him. And we're going to put a little bit of outside. I'll show you in a minute. We'll get there. I'm going to go over it one more time with the C7 because it's a little bit lighter than I really wanted it to be. So I'm just doing one very light coat over top to darken that to a little bit darker black. And then I feel like because we did this red and we need just a little bit more green, I'm going to do the outside of that green. So I want to make sure my green looks good with this green paper that I picked. And I think it will. I hope you both have an awesome time. Me too. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay, so we're going to pull our greens back out. We have YG67, YG17, and YG03. We're not going to use a lot of the 03 because I want to keep this a little bit darker. So I'm going to start with my YG67. Again, I want this to be a little bit darker, so I'm not going to use a lot of the YG03, but I will use it over the word December just to make sure that we see it. I'm going to do underneath this part to make it look like it's like stacked paper, if you will. And then along the bottom, just to show that there's a base there. And I'll go up the side just a little. We'll go the rest of the side with the next color. But I'm also going to put just a nice line right here, just so it looks like the papers are stacked on top of each other for the next year. What colors did I use for Frosty? C3, C1, C00, and BG000, and colorless blender. YG17. Gonna extend out. You love my Frosty? Thank you. And then we're gonna blend out from this one. We're gonna go all the way up this time. Blending down a little bit more. I want to soften that change there, interchange, or whatever you want to call that. Going to do a little bit into the word December, but we're going to save the rest for the next color. And then we're going to go along the top here. I told you we weren't going to use a lot of that YG03, but we are going to use some of it. So there's not going to be a lot of it's going to get filled in with this one. That one's just going to soften the color up a bit. So I'm softening the original lines we made with the darker color, leaving just some really light areas for the last color, but we'll go over the whole thing with the last color because it changes the color tone, and so in order for the whole thing to match, we got to put that color on the whole thing. You never would have guessed I used BG. I mean, you could use B, but I like the BG. For some reason, I like to have the BG in there when I do forms of water, because I feel like it's just it takes away from that blue look. All the grays are underrated. Agreed, Selena. I agree. I don't think the grays get used enough. I did try I was going to do this in the tea, but I didn't feel like the tea was quite the color I had in my head. So I went ahead and went with the C's. But you could do him with W's or any of the grays, actually. That's another thing about the difference between the Copics and the Olos, are that their grays are not the same. There's not a comparison for the C's and Copics to the Olos. Their grays are completely different. And there aren't really Copics that match the C's, W's, and RG's, I think it's called, in Olo to Copic either. They're different. So I would say, if I didn't own them all, I would definitely get those RGs, because that color is really awesome. And they don't have that color in Copic. I think I have my little book. I can even show you what the difference is, but there is quite a big difference in the grays. They are not similar at all. So I would want all the grays in both, because I gotta have it all. Okay, now inside here I want to mark Christmas, of course, and if I get this wrong, you guys are never gonna let me live it down. So I'm going to highlight with this R35 Christmas on the calendar. Just want it to stand out a little bit more, since this is going to be a Christmas card. Now, we need to ground all of our stuff, because right now Frosty's just floating out there. And I don't really want to, normally you would ground something with like a wood color or a stone color, but this is a snowman and he's in the snow. So we kind of have to ground him with a really light gray. So what I'm going to do in order for it to be different than his skin is I'm going to switch to the W's. And I'm going to add white gel pen to the W's to show the snow effect. But we're going to use W3, 1, and 0, 0. It's kind of the comparison to the C's. We used C3, 1, and 0, 0 for Frosty. So we're going to use now the W's in the same numbers. So I'm going to go around his feet and then out with the darkest one. This is C3. And then I want to extend out. Now this broom also has a darker shadow. So I just want to get it in there where I want him standing. We don't want to, we could make it blue and have him standing in a puddle like he's melting, because he is in Texas and that cannot be good. So I want to build in first the darkest color, and then we'll start working from that. You don't have to put it everywhere you want it to be, because we'll move on to the next color and expand it out. So this is W1, and we're going to go along the top line to kind of soften that out. We're going to extend it just a little bit. I don't really want to go all the way to thumpity thump. So we're going to start coming along this side right here, softening the transition between 3 and 1, so it just gets a little bit lighter. Up here, because we did the top part of this one
So we got to do the same thing to the other side. Just kind of extending that out. We want to make sure he's standing on something. Then we have W00. And same thing, we're going to go over that and up just a little teeny bit. Going to kind of soften up this edge right here. We're going to go all the way off the bottom of the paper. So we're going to soften this up like our transition spot. I'm not going to go all the way up to here because I want to leave that a little bit darker. But what I've noticed is when I do this grounding type effect, it usually lightens up quite a bit when you're trying to kind of wear down that line so that you don't see a line, you just see like a very smooth transition. So I do like to go in for a second coat to put the shadow area back in there, but I don't go in with the darkest color. I start with the W1 because I don't want to put that really, really dark color in there again. And I'm going to just put off some shadow here. So I want the broom to show a bit right there. And I want Frosty to show a bit more right here. So when you put that back in, it kind of deepens that color right there. And I like that look. And then we're going to come in with our W00. And this time I'm only going to soften the bottom part of it. Going to leave that darker color up here. Kind of deepen this part that's going off the page. And then that way you have kind of a two-tone look going on there, and I really like that. Okay, let's see. We also need to soften this big white block we have in the center. So we're going to go to our C's, and I'm just going to do the corners. So this is C1, and I don't want to do them square, so I'm going to kind of round that off. And I'm just going to do it on all four sides. Just want to take it down a notch from looking just so stark white. So we're just adding a little bit of color to that. And then we'll go to our C00 and then our colorless blender. So C00 is just going to soften this and extend. It's not going to be real noticeable so much in the video, but you'd notice it when you were looking at it on paper. And I'll hold it up to show you guys if you want to see. But it just softens that edge a little bit and takes that white, stark white off of the image. And I like that shadow effect. And because we used Memento, it won't mess up if you go over the numbers, so you don't really have to worry about that. But it just kind of softens that, and you'll be able to see that there's a difference between the inside and the edges. I think I need just a little bit more here at the top. Whoops, at the top. So I'm just going to put a little line there. And then what the colorless blender will do is it will soften those edges. Don't want to touch the red. We don't want to soften any of the red. So probably would have been better to do this prior to doing the red, unless you're really careful. Because you don't want to get that colorless blender anywhere around that red, or it will bleed out. You will not like it. So if I hold it up, you can kind of see that there's a tinge to the papers, and it's not stark white, which I like. Now, this paper is 4 by 5 1/4, and that's the size of, pretty much the size of my background paper, so I know I'm going to have to trim this down a little bit before I add a sentiment and the white gel pen and all that good stuff. So this is I'm going to zoom out, but we'll zoom back in if we need to. If I can get it to work. There we go. Okay. So we're going to have to trim this just a little bit. And we might put a color around the edge. I just haven't decided yet. I want to go ahead and make this the size I need. So normally I make my cards 4, but that background is about right here. It's just a tad bit more than 4. So I want this to be down a bit more. So I have a bigger border. And I knew that was going to happen. Same thing on this side. And I want to trim it on this side because this is closer and that one had more excess on that side. So that's why I chose to trim the top and the sides. Those were the reasons why. Okay, so let's look at what this is going to look like with our green mat. So this green mat is going to be like this. And then our green mat is going to go on our blue, which it could be on red, but I just felt like the blue just kind of brought it together and made it a little bit more, less on the frilly side for a girl, a little bit more on the masculine side. I do have to send cards to dudes as well. So I wanted to make sure I have some like that. I have some sentiments here. We're also going to add some snowflakes, so just hang in there. I'm just not there yet. Let's see. Maybe warm holiday wishes might be good because, you know, you're cold and this is Frosty. So you're cold and I have a cold. So, you know, there you go. It's a play on words. So I just trim out the word that I want. And then I come in here and I want to make sure they're straight. I knew this one was crooked, so I cut it far enough I could trim it off. And there's my warm holiday wishes. And if I wanted, I could grab a little piece of red, which I happen to have right here on my desk, that I could mat this on so that it brings that red in. I have a couple of colors of red right here on my desk because I've been working on those projects. But I think this is the best red that I have. We could also use black if we wanted, but black and black, I don't know. I kind of like the red. So I'm going to use the red. I think I want to trim this just a teeny bit more. So I'm just going to freehand it. You can do it with a trimmer, but I prefer to freehand. It's just easier for me. When they're this small, they're hard to get in those little trimmers and stuff. So it's just easier for me to do it myself. So I'm going to add a little bit of, oops. Add a little bit of glue to this. We're going to pop it up once we get it on here. Well, now we have glue on our desk, which is what I love about Barely Art glue. Just rub it off and it goes away. We're going to put it in the corner. That'll make it easier for me to trim the last 2 sides without putting it in a trimmer. Oops, don't go so far. There we go. The glue gives you a couple of seconds to move it around. Once you get it where you want it, you can just press it. And then I'm just going to eyeball the trimming. So I need about that much. I'm going to cut it much wider so I can work on the specific trimming to get it really nice. There we go. And we'll put it up here and we'll probably pop it up. I have a lot of extra pop-ups from working on my projects earlier, so lots and lots, and I saved all the pieces so we can use them. Just gonna grab one of these real skinny ones, skinny long ones that'll work really well on the back of this. I kind of think that's going to be perfect. I almost think it doesn't really need to have any other color, especially if we're going to add the snowflakes. But I think I'm going to move it over to the side a little bit so it's a little bit more over Frosty. I'm going to grab my scissors that I cut tape with. I have specific scissors that I cut tape with, and then that way I only get all that gummy stuff all over one pair of scissors. I'm going to trim this really thin, hopefully thin enough. And then we can put it on the back. The other one was a little thicker, so we'll probably use that one. There we go. Then we're going to trim this off. Just like that. I'm going to peel one side and stick it on this sentiment. Just for now, to hold it still while we work on the rest of the card, because we still have to attach everything. We still have to stamp our snowflakes. But I want everything to kind of be ready before I stamp the snowflakes. So I'm just going to set this here. I'm not actually going to stick it on there yet. But I wanted to be able to see what I was looking at before I stamped the snowflakes. So I have the snowflakes on this block. I love this block, by the way. It is also from the Sassy Club. And what I did was I put the small snowflake on this side of the block and the bigger snowflake on this side. That way I can switch them back and forth without accidentally stamping somewhere I don't want to stamp. I never put them on the same side because I always end up messing that up. So we're going to test it once off the paper. We need to do a couple of them just to make sure we get like a pretty solid. I had never used this stamp before, so I think we need to wipe it off. Kind of get that any manufacturing stuff off of it so it stamps a little bit smoother. Hopefully that'll be good enough. That's why I always do a test stamp first. Better. This is the little one. Perfect. So I would like to put the bigger one up here. Right there. With the smaller one below it. Right there. I think we should put one more on this side. And now we probably need two more down here. I think I want to go with one large and one small. That'll put 5 blings on our card. And we'll put a gemstone in the center of these snowflakes. That's where our bling will come in. That's what I love about these little snowflakes, is that we can add the bling to them later. Okay, we're going to let that dry, and we're going to glue the rest of this together. Now, I stamped that on my inside cardstock, so I'm going to flip it over. No one will ever know that it's there. And if I don't close this, I'll stick my arm in it. I'm known for that in my Stampin' Up! Classes I used to go to. I used to always stick my arm in the ink. Sometimes my whole arm. So embarrassing. I did it so many times. They're like, close the ink. Sandy's going to stick her arm in it. They knew me so well. Okay, here we go. We're going to attach this. I'm going to using that same piece of paper. No one's going to know those little hidden snowflakes are back there. You can't see them. They didn't stamp through the paper, so we're all good on that. I got a little bit of glue outside. It doesn't matter. It dries clear, invisible, so we're golden. I'm going to use my Trinity Stamps Teflon like bone folder because it gives you a much stronger fold.
once we glue the papers on, you won't really, it won't stick up like that. It'll stay flat. So I'm going to put the glue on here. I almost think we should pop that up too. I don't have this obsession for popping stuff up these days. That's Joy's fault. She showed me all the cool ways to pop stuff up, and now I just can't help myself. I have been influenced by the master of popping things up. But because this one is like a solid sheet, I want to use a solid sheet to pop it up so it stays firm. So I have these 8.5 by 11 sheets that I cut in half. And then this one, I just kind of sit it over top so I can kind of see where it is. And then I just trim it with these scissors. Just so long as I know it's not too big. Doesn't matter if you fold it while you're cutting it because it's just double-sided sticky tape and it'll still work. And then I save the excess for something else later. Goes in my little packet there. And this one for later as well. And then this whole piece fits on the back and gives a really sturdy hold. So I'm going to peel this off. I stick it to the back of my card. Sometimes I run my press pop over it just to make sure it's got a really good hold on there. And then I peel off the back. Make sure I'm putting it on the card in the right direction so I don't mess that up. If you want, you can put a bit of glue on the back of here before you put it down. Just throw some glue on the back of this. Not that you need it, but so that you can move it around once it touches the paper. That way you don't get stuck with exactly where you drop it the first time. You have some room to move around. To me, that it's worth it to put that little bit of excess glue on there to be able to move it around. I like that. So if you want to do that, that's a little trick that I do. It's helped me tremendously in the past. I have some of this little bling on my desk right here that we can use. I'm going to get my picker tool. And I'm going to put, I think I want this size. I'm not sure if I want this size on the big one or the little one. So we're going to put it over there and see. Oh, it's perfect on that one. Okay, so I need a second one that size. So I think we only have 2. And then there are some tinier ones in here. Right there. That I'll go ahead and put the glue down so we can stick it on there. Smaller one. The glue oozed out of the sides, but it's okay because once it dries, you won't be able to see it. Then we need 2 more. Okay, there's one. Tiny, tiny one right there. Be great if it was the right way. There it goes. So we'll put just a tad of glue there. I'll pick it up, place it on top of there. And then I need one more teeny tiny one. There's one. They're hiding back here in the small tiny areas. There it is.
We'll put a little bit of glue on this one. Uh-oh, we're going to need one more. So I usually use the back side of this to press it down if it gets to being all wiggly and stuff. 1, 2, 3. No, I don't need another one. I just need to glue these. There's one there, one there. So we're going to put this one here. Pick that one up and move it over here. So they're very light and frosty color. They're not real like slap you in the face. They're just very subtle. I like them. They're perfect. One last thing is to put our sentiment on there, and then we are finished except for our white gel pen. All we have to do is add some white gel pen accents, which I like to do last so that I don't smear them anywhere. Because you guys know me, I would smear it in a heartbeat. So I'm going to grab my favorite gel pen, if I can find it. It was right here. There it is. So this is the Deco Gel we talked about. The Deco Gel pen. I'm going to put a little bit on the top of his nose. I'm going to give him little eyes. I'm going to put a little bit on his flower. And then along his hat a little bit. Kind of jagged. I don't like it to be like real definite. We'll put a little corner on it so it looks obvious. And then we're going to put some like in his belly to kind of soften this up a little bit. I mean, it is snow. Little one over here. I like the little dots. I tend to do that a lot. That's kind of up to you. What you like. There's his hand, a little bit on his hand. I mean, he's a snowman. He needs some of this white gel pen going on him. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. Might put a little bit on these so you can see them. I will hold him up so you can see him very, very closely. Look at how cute he is. Adorable. If you wanted, you could put some on the ground so it would look like it's kind of snowing out there. So it's like it's a snowy day. And now it looks like snow is dropping on the ground. So cute. You can kind of see that sparkle going on that one down there. It's kind of catching the light. So this is a clean and simple way to do it. This is how you can use your Frosty the Snowman. For a quick reminder, this is from Sassy Club. This is the Hey Frosty. This is the calendar from Waffle Flower. We did not use the Holly Jolly, so you don't need to see that one. These little gemstones right here, you can get them from Pajama Crafter Stamps. I think I got mine from the Ton, but you can get them anywhere. And that's it. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. Look at how cute that little Frosty is. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine making each page like this with each calendar and then attaching it so people could rip the calendar off and you could do different images? It would be so cute. It would be so fun. What is this? Can I show it?
Sure.
Dale's making
Don't squeeze it.
Dale's been practicing on making some stuff for our glue holders. This will be in the Doux Designs, probably in the Doux Designs shop. But, oh, I just love dinosaurs. He's playing with colors and stuff. I got the stainless steel pins and, yeah, they're going to be great.
anyway, I'm excited. I guess he just finished these, so he laid them out here to finish curing. But watch for them. They'll be out soon. Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube and on the replay, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to go out to YouTube. I put all the color combinations and stamp companies and links and such on YouTube as well. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys on Tuesday night for something new. Frosty says, good night. See you guys later.
Says happy birthday.
Oh, he does say happy birthday.